monitoring for those waivers. But that's kind of what we were discussing. You know, as the State Department, we will still be coming out to do reviews, the desk audits, video chats. If the consultant maybe could video chat with you while you're serving meals, you could set your phone up and let them view what you're serving, take pictures. We've had some that are taking pictures of their meals and sending in those to their consultants. Waiver number 9 was talking about the monitoring of the National School Lunch, School Breakfast, and the SSO program, which the Seamless Summer is what most of you are currently doing. Some of those have been waived, but to every extent practical, we're supposed to monitor those activities, again, by desk audits, video chats, and the such. Waiver number 10 talked about the summer food service program monitoring. It waived the monitoring for the sponsoring organizations during that first week of operations and once during the first 4 weeks. But again, if at all possible, if you're a sponsor of a SFSP, you need to try to be able to go look at, or at least desk review, monitor those activities however you can. Number 11 was from the state side, and the same thing with your summer food service program. The State Department is going to be conducting reviews some way, desk audits, field audits. This year we still will have our summer feeding reviewers that will be working with us, and the consultants, some of them will be doing your summer feeding reviews. So those will still take place. It'll just look a lot different than it has in the past. Waiver number 12 talked about the January, February claim waivers. This is for the National School Lunch, School Breakfast, and this Seamless Summer. Currently, what it did was extended the deadline. Instead of having just 60 days before you had to do a one-time exemption, and extended that for 30 calendar days. Today is the deadline for January. If you have not put in a January claim for your National School Lunch, School Breakfast, or your Seamless Summer, put that in today. If it's not in by midnight tonight, you'll have to do the one-time exception, and you only get to do a one-time exception every 3 years. So get those in. It's still just really highly, highly recommended that you complete your claims in a timely fashion, preferably by the 10th of the month, to get you paid in a timely manner from how we pay claims here at the State Department. And I did figure the date for the February, and I believe it is May 29th will be that 60 plus those 30 more calendar days. Meal pattern waiver flexibility, number 13. Still, it extended the waiver that actually expired April 30th, which would have been today. It extended it on out to May 31st. Of course, we've heard in our state, we've had some hit and miss on the meal pattern waivers, because you have to justify the need for that meal pattern waiver. It can't just be a brief interruption of the availability of one particular food product. It's got to be the entire component for you to be able to apply and receive that waiver. USDA states even in this flexibility memo that schools should try to maintain and meet the meal patterns if at all possible, because you need to exhaust all options before even applying for a meal pattern waiver. Waiver number 14 was concerned with the summer food service program about closed enrolled sites. If you are going to be operating a closed enrolled site on your your summer food service program, you need to talk to Dee about that. We had the waiver in the past that was good through April 30th. This extended that waiver on through September 30th, but you will need to talk to Dee Houston, who is our summer food service program coordinator.
I might add that that does pertain more to like upward bound programs and summer camp programs, and most of you aren't operating in that way. So most of this particular one won't apply to the majority of you out there. You're operating the normal summer feeding or SSO, and you guys are open. So
Waiver number 15, it waived the first site visit for the summer food service program, which was also a continuation of our waiver that we had from last year. That was good until April 30th. So this waiver just extends that on out to September 30th. And it said in there for sponsors only in good standing. Most of our schools, you guys are in good standings. That's not an issue. Waiver number 16 talks about offer versus serve in this food service summer program. And it extends, we already had a waiver for that. Again, that was good through today. And it extends that through September 30th.
for schools
For schools only.
and SFSP, yes.
Number 17 was a mealtime restriction. It just extends the mealtime restriction. Basically what that means is your non-congregate feeding, that you can serve breakfast and lunch at that same time. If you're, sending out packaged meals, or if you're sending out the whole week's worth of meals on Monday, this waiver extends that on to September 30th. The last one I'm just going to talk about a little bit is the fresh fruit and vegetable. Memo SP 12/2020 with some questions and answers on your fresh fruit and vegetable program for you guys that have the fresh fruit and vegetables. First of all, you can serve the fresh fruit and vegetables with your other meals. You can't buy the fresh fruit and vegetables and charge that off to your FFVP grant money and then serve it as your national school lunch or school breakfast components. It has to be, your whole cup of fruit at breakfast, and then if you're going to serve more for your fresh fruit and vegetable program, that's allowable. Children must be present. This is the one, though, that you need to really make sure if you're that elementary school that has the fresh fruit and vegetable program and you're going to offer that, and parents are picking up without the children because of how everything was written. The parent pickup waiver does not apply to the fresh fruit and vegetable program. Don't ask us why. We could ask USDA and they would send it on up to national office and we might hear back.
And they have, and we don't have an answer for it.
Jennifer says we have, but we've not heard an answer on that. But it's supposed to be the elementary schools that applied and have the grant. No educational component is required, so you're relieved of that. One of the questions and the answers in the memo was talking about additional funding. There will be no additional funding for handing out fruits and vegetables on this program. Now, if you're curious about the program, ask your consultant about the fresh fruit and vegetable program. But to apply for next year, and I know I've been asked this question a couple of times, the next year's application, the 2021 application, will be in the CAR system after we roll over. So when you get the system notification that it's rolled over and ready to go for the 2021 school year, you can also apply for the fresh fruit and vegetable grant. Okay, now I've ran through that pretty quickly. Now we want you to start asking your questions. How do I get to the chat?
Grab and go, Nancy. Right now, non-congregate waiver is only good through June 30th. I have not heard that there will be an extension to that. It's allowed to be extended at the national level, and the only person that can do that is Sonny Perdue in Washington, D.C., the Secretary of Agriculture. So as of right now, non-congregate waiver is only good until June 30th, which that will allow you to do the grab and go in a non-congregate setting. So that's that one. Maybe because you're sharing your screen, you can't see it, Dana, sorry.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to get
fresh fruit and vegetable funds, they don't roll over. Oops, mine just jumped, sorry. correct? Oh wait, where'd you go? Where'd your question go, Maria? There it is.
Okay.
Fresh fruit and vegetable funds. Yes, fresh fruit and vegetable funds have to be spent by September of 20, correct?
No, they will roll
They are
over.
rolling this year. Okay.
They are
Sorry.
going, the fresh fruit and vegetable from this year will roll over into next year, according to the memo.
Any update on a waiver to extend at risk? No, nothing's been said about extending at risk into the summer. Right now, if you do the at-risk program through SSO, it must end on the last day of your school, sometime between May 8th and 15th, which is what the State Board of Education set. So there's a few schools that might go after that May 15th date. Let us know if you are, please. Let your area consultant know if you are.
But the next one is, can we do both non-congregate feeding and on-site feeding at the same site if we end up having site-based programs?
At your school's opening up to have sites open? Because right now I've been told that all schools have to stay closed. Nancy, we might need to have a conversation about that separately.
Yeah, because that was
the waiver for 50% expires on June 30th. I have asked if I can ask for an extension. I can ask for an extension and I will, but I cannot ask for an extension until the first part of June. They aren't even entertaining extensions to that at this point. That one is good until June 30th, unless Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue ends this national health emergency before that. And if that's the case, then that waiver stops too. But I will be asking for a waiver or an extension to that, but I do not have an extension at this point. I want to be clear on that.
Will SSF continue to be grab and go after the end of June 30th?
As long as the non-congregate waiver is in place, which allows that grab and go, it will go through June 30th because that's when that waiver expires, unless it gets extended.
So Nancy, are you saying possibly you will have students in the building and students out for grab and go? We'll discuss that and get back.
Have I asked for a waiver? Yes, it was included in my original waiver and they won't even look at it right now. So yes, we have tried. Mr. Haynes, you were asking about the at-risk waiver. USDA is not even looking into that right now. If our school's been approved for May and June, do I need to still let my field agent know that we are serving until June 30th? They can see within the application that you'll be serving till June 30th. We have planned to go to SSO, from SSO to SFSP effective May 11th. Am I understanding this correctly? We'll be able to do grab and go. Yes. You can do grab and go. Tanya, you can do grab and go.
All of the waivers are good for all the national school lunch, school breakfast, and the summer food service program as of right now. And most of those are through June 30th. And then those ones we talked about, the extensions through September 30th. I lost my connection during the list of waivers and missed 12. Okay, hang on, we're looking what that is. Those are all listed under cars if you need to see those.
Waiver number 12 extends the deadline for turning in, submitting your January and February claim an additional 30 days is what that does. Number 12, waiver 12.
All right.
If the waivers do expire suddenly, will we have a couple of, I've asked that question and I can't quite get an answer from anybody when I ask it. We've wondered the exact same thing.
In other words, if President Trump says the national emergency is over today, we don't know.
I have to believe that I can't even believe some things anymore. So I don't have an answer for that. I don't want to say something and it be incorrect. I apologize, but we have asked that on our regional calls twice a week.
Can we serve fresh fruits and vegetables during summer? Our last day is scheduled to be May 8th. So if you're going to have a summer school program and you're still doing grab and go, then if you're talking about the fresh fruit and vegetable program, then Jennifer's looking up the way it's at 12/2020. It's a memo. Hang on, we're gonna skip on down. you guys are doing a great job. It seems like you do not have as many questions as you have had in the past, and that's good. I hope everyone's doing good. Just a quick question for all of you. Are your meal counts still staying in meal participation? Okay.
On cars for the SSO claims?
Yes. All for SSO claims, the instructions are under the CARS, other documents, how to go about processing that. It's under the Seamless Summer tab in the CARS. Okay. Do we have to continue the emergency SSO past our last scheduled day of school? We plan to stop on that day. You're being encouraged to continue feeding. If at all possible, we understand there may be some hiccups in that in the way of getting employees to work, but if at all possible, you are encouraged to continue feeding. If we are approved for May and June and decide to stop because our numbers drop, that is okay. That is really a local decision, but I will make the comment on here that from the State Department of Education, we are recommending and encouraging schools to continue feeding if at all possible. We have some meal count coming in, one's dropping, one's still very high. Now I can't get my spring to move. Come on, baby. Meal counts are dropping high. Yes, milk is still up. What do you mean milk is? Oh, I couldn't see for. Maybe that's it, meals, and you may be on your phone, and autocorrect is always a wonderful thing. Still staying the same. So it looks like for you guys that are answering that question, we're still having some really, really good participation.
Additional funds to cover losses? No, nothing yet. We received additional funds to pay claims during this time, but that's only what it can be used for. It's only earmarked to pay claims during the March through September timeframe of COVID.
We're still holding steady, counts are staying steady.
That's great news. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, Gary is still high, meals are continuing to grow. You were up, but now down. Meal counts are staying the same, holding bill steady. That's wonderful. That just kind of gives us some information to talk to downstairs when Jennifer has to be on calls with the state superintendent and other superintendents around the state.
I don't know if you all saw the public release that went out through our communications department last week, but for the 9-day period of March 23rd through March 31st, because that's the only data we had for SSO, and this is just SSO and SFSP, you all served a little over 1.7 million meals in a 9-day period. That's fabulous. You and your staff should be very proud of yourselves. That's awesome.
Okay, here's just an actual question. If nearby schools stop offering meals, is it okay for those students to come to our schools for meals? Absolutely, because the way the Seamless Summer or Summer Food Service Program, either one work, 18 and under, you can feed them. The parent pickup gets a little trickier, but you're supposed to maintain the integrity of the program, but you can feed any child 18 years of age and under, 19 if they can tell you they're still enrolled, or disabled.
Disabled up to 21.
Okay, steady, counts are still high. After June 30th, can we continue to do SSO grab and go for July and August? If those waivers are extended, and we're pretty sure they will be extended unless for some reason the national emergency is just declared over. Okay. Tanya says they're feeding 200, 207-ish a day, and their enrollment was 240. So that's awesome.
I did get a call from a parent this morning just asking if kids that aren't enrolled in a school can eat. And yes, that parent had a 3-year-old, and they were told they couldn't give food to the 3-year-old, that you can give food to young siblings that are not enrolled in school. Just keep that in mind, just as a reminder.
And like that is for either program. If new children move into town, can they still get a grab and go? Yes, they do not have to be enrolled in any particular program in your school. They can be visiting visiting their grandparents in your town and come by and grab a meal. Yeah, all right, well, if we don't have, I'm going to kind of say last call for questions. Any specific guidelines on how to maintain integrity of the program? For you guys, it's basically doing what you know is right, meeting the meal patterns, making sure that, you've exhausted all means to try to serve everything. The news last night, there's a meat shortage. So, that could be a possibility of a meal pattern waiver if the meat shortage is actually true and, you go to several suppliers and you can't get basic meats any, especially on the stuff you're using for grab and go. I know, and I think it was Jennifer that had this question yesterday, inventories. What are we supposed to do with our inventories? We've been ordering now for all these grab and goes. And the one school that she kind of was discussing with was starting to offer some hot meals as a grab and go, but doing it very carefully and serving it on their line. And they were going to only let so many children in the building at a time grab the hot meal, make sure there's information in the hot meal with instructions that it needs to be eaten within, a certain period of time or refrigerated if it's not going to be, just to some safety precautions to protect you guys. So that might be one way that you can use up some of your inventory that you have on hand.
Stephanie Palin, I think I might need some more information if you want to email me. I'm not hearing anything about the start of the school year and I'm not hearing anything on that right now, but I don't know that I'm fully getting your question, but we can email or talk. There was one somebody asked about, we're trying to go back up. I think we may have missed one. Daycare's picking up meals. If they're on our CACFP program, the daycares can come get meals to you. I hope they would check with you all to make sure you can accommodate that. But if they're on our program and they're getting meals from you, that's an integrity issue if they claim them on their side because they're not preparing those meals. So that's a problem. Kathy, you can always, Kathy Hannah asked that. You can always reach out to us or your area consultant to see if they're on the program, and we can follow up on that a little bit more as we need to.
I tried to scan up and went all the way up. Okay, was an answer given as to if we can serve from the fresh fruit and vegetable program after this? Yes. I don't think we ever really looked that up, but I think the memo says you can use the fresh fruit and vegetable grant money for summer because they're allowing you to use it right now with Seamless Summer.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. We appreciate that. They've done a great job. I agree. My staff's done a fabulous job.
Except for Dana, who can't keep her fingers on the right buttons. Okay. Are you looking at the financial question?
Yeah, range. I'm not aware of anything else that can be done, but what you've listed here, again, we have not received anything as far as additional funds available for this purpose. They have funded us to ensure we can pay these claims, and that's great because I have had some schools, I've been on some superintendent calls, and some superintendents are concerned that we won't have the funds to pay the claims as they come in. That is not the case. Your claims will be paid. That's not an issue at all. Don't worry about that. But we have heard nothing on our regional calls with USDA concerning additional funds for revenue or lack thereof, like you said. So I have nothing on that right now. I can't, they haven't addressed any of it.
Okay, and Lisa
Oh, wow.
says
Borden filed bankruptcy? That's, Lisa, that's some news. I didn't know that. Wow. I would have to agree. You're probably right. I know that some of the other, was Borden True? No, yeah. True. Borden was True Move. Okay.
True Move.
I know that there, you know, some of your Mid-Americas and Cisco's and US Foods, they can get milk. We asked them early on if they were, and they said they could provide milk. So remember, you do have to exhaust all of your options to get a meal pattern waiver. So just do know that. That hasn't changed from the first, 2 weeks of the program where we were having some problems. Borden was purchased by Prairie Homes Dairy. Okay, that's good information. Shout out to Mona. Good job, Mona. I agree with you, Tiffany. I tell the superintendents to let you guys know what a wonderful job you're doing. They keep telling me how tired you are, and I'm sure you are, but keep it up. You guys are amazing. You're doing exactly what needs to be done at this time. The kids need to know they can rely on food, and you guys are always there for them during the school year, and I'm so glad you continue to be there for them now. That's great. Another shout out to Alberta, Rhonda, Mona, and Dee. All of us, thank you. You guys are doing good too, thank you. Everybody's just doing the best they can. This is a completely unprecedented time, and we know that. We're here for you as much as we can be to answer your questions, to help you work through some things, anything we can do at this point. I wish I could tell you I was going to have funding for you other than paying the claims, but I can't do that right now. I don't have that ability.
And yes, Lisa, you're exactly right. I know you're saying that, so everyone is aware that, you know, your PAL dollars, your commodity dollars are based on the number of lunches from the previous school year. And I know we've talked about that on a couple USDA calls and how that's going to affect, you know, if they're going to allow us to roll some of these seamless summer meals into
it has been
lunch.
Discussed.
So just know we may be better off than we think we are, but that is a concern.
Yeah. The other thing, we were told about a week ago on our regional call, normally when a state issues a waiver, it just goes to the FNS in DC. But now because of COVID, everything is being done at the White House level with Vice President Pence. So it's normally the legal team in DC that's handling it for FNS. Well, it's bypassing them and even going up to the White House. I didn't know that until the other day, but everything, even these programs, everything dealing with COVID with USDA is going through vetted through the vice president. So that was something that I learned. Yes, Leanne is a very patient person and helps a lot. Maybe they can increase the rate or meal to get the PAL. That's a constant conversation on our weekly call that I know Gina's on there. Gina's on that call with us as well. And then all the other states that do which all states do commodities, but the other, they're always talking about that. So they are aware that there's concerns, and they are aware of that.
The time frame we've served those 1.9 million was
March 23rd through March 31st. Since you all file by the month and your March claim would have included both National School Lunch and SSO, we were able to capture just that 9 days. Now May will be all SSO, so it'll be very interesting to see what a normal April April is versus what for National School Lunch versus what April is for SSO. So, but yes, it wasn't quite 1.9. It was a little over 1.7 million, but still very impressive, you guys, very impressive.
That's a lot of sack lunches you guys have
Yes.
bagged up. A lot of sack lunches. And
Yes.
well, any other questions? We'll go ahead and kind of wrap up. Absolutely, though, if you have other questions, email us here in the office. We're still teleworking. We have not been released yet to come back to the office. That's going to be a process in itself. But most are checking our phones, checking our emails, and working from home. So if you need anything, let us know. Yes, May will all be SSO. Except some May will be summer feeding because some folks are switching over to summer food service program. All right, well,
do you all want us to do this more often, or just as things progress and we think we need to have one? Do you guys have a preference? Is there, what about the 8 days until the final day of school? Do you mean on SSO? You'll claim those meals under SSO. Any meals you serve in May to your final day, which is some districts will go on May 8th, some will go to the 15th. Yes, all of April and what you serve in May will go under SSO, but they're separate. Each month goes on a separate claim. More often, thank you. At least once a month, more often. Okay, keep us updated. I like the Zoom meeting. Okay, we can do that. Who did? Oh, Lisa, you had a question. We must have. Oh, is there any way to be able to serve breakfast, lunch, and supper like we are now? No. That's another no. Once the school day or year is over between May 8th and 15th, you can offer, if you go to summer feeding, if you've applied for summer feeding and were approved, you serve 2 meals. If you stay on SSO, which a lot of schools are that normally don't feed in the summer, which is awesome, and you stay on SSO, it's 2 meals. And it's any combination except you can't do a lunch and supper combination, but any other combination of 2 meals is fine, but you cannot do lunch and supper. Updated, thank you. All needed, Zoom meetings, we got it. More often, once a month, helpful, more often. Zoom, okay.
And we send the notifications out through CARS and the mass email. So watch for those, because when we click that, we usually click for the superintendent, authorized representative, and the food service director. So
Vicki, can we serve to the end of the month, even though our last day is the 8th? Yeah, are you referring to, I'm sure you're referring to SSO. You can do SSO all summer long if you want to. And if you have a need in your community for meals for the children, please continue.
The difference between SSO and SFSP?
SFSP is too late to apply for.
Yes.
It's over. So if you haven't already applied to switch to SFSP, it's too late. We can't waive the application. We can't change. We can't do any of that. None of that is allowed to be waived. That goes back to the program integrity, and that has to continue to be maintained. And so Tanya, if you're doing SSO and you haven't applied for SFSP, just do SSO.
Yep.
Yes, Vicki, you can do SSO through May, June, July, and into August until school starts if you want to. If you have any questions, you always remember you can reach out to your area consultant, email us. Again, like Dana said, we're teleworking, so the phones are not being answered, but the people teleworking are calling in and checking their voicemails.
And the quickest difference between the SSO and the SFVP is the meal pattern. The SFSP does not have to meet the subgroups, the red, orange, the green, leafy, and the reimbursement is a little more. That's the 2 main differences. And Lisa, you've asked, yes, I will try to get this typed up and answered like we did last time. And I'll try not to forget to send the certificates out this time.
Oh.
My apologies for that, but we will get the questions and answers kind of typed up and send those out like we did last time. Nancy.
I'm glad you still have your sense of humor in all this, Nancy. It's good to see.
Yes, it is. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work too.
All right, everybody. Thank you, guys. Jeremy, I think we're through. I think we can go ahead and disconnect. We appreciate you guys.
We will do this more often because of what you all said. Thank you.
Yes.